Oftentimes, when we look at successful people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, we credit their successes to things like hard work, persistency, and all the positive traits that they have. But what if there is something more to that contributes to their success? Something that is out of their control, but they manage to leverage it really, really well. It is their unfair advantage. And the fact is, wherever you are in your life, you've got some set of unfair advantage you can leverage on as well. An advantage for you to succeed. So in this video, I would like to introduce to you the MILES framework, which is money, intelligence, location, education or expertise, and status. The misconceptions of this framework and also how we can utilize it. So let's jump into it. Welcome back to my channel, friends. My name is Nicky Sujadi, where I'll be sharing relatable and empowering contents to you millennials. So if you're a millennial that likes self-help, self-development, productivity, consider subscribing to this channel because that is what this channel is going to be about. Before I dive deep into unfair advantage, I'd like to touch on the differences between unfair advantage and fair advantages, just to clear things up. So fair advantages are things like hard work, persistency. Those that are things that we can sort of replicate. For example, if we look at a startup founder that wakes up at 4 a.m. in the morning, go for a jog, work the entire day, and that's how he got his success, then we would probably say that that is quite a fair advantage because he worked hard for that, right? It's something that people can technically do as well if they want to. But an unfair advantage is something that we can't really replicate. And the example would be if there is another startup founder that has a very wealthy uncle and managed to fund the startup company $1 million to help the business hire the right people, buy the right stuff, then we'll probably assume that that is a bit of an unfair advantage because not everyone has that privilege of a wealthy surrounding or cash that is so easily at reach. The framework that I am about to introduce to you, it's the MILES framework, M-I-L-E-S. M stands for money, I intelligence, L stands for location, E stands for expertise or education, and S status. This framework is developed by Ash and Hassan, who wrote the book Unfair Advantage. And yes, that is what I based this video on. So if you'd like to know more, check out their book. Which brings us to the first point in the MILES framework, money. So yes, we're all very familiar with money. Money are things that we can buy with. When you have access to money, it can definitely help to start your business from the ground up faster. And not only that, you can even have money as a backup, which means that you can take bigger risks because you can technically fall back on a certain pool of money that you don't have to risk. So let's take Evan Spiegel for example. He is the founder of Snapchat. He became a billionaire at 25. And one part of the reason why he can become so successful is because he was raised by a very wealthy lawyers who obviously has a very powerful connection to business people that he can leverage on. That means that he has access to money, funders, and mentors from the early on of his business startup career. But don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to discredit his hard work or idea because that definitely plays a part in his success. But we cannot ignore the fact that money has played an unfair advantage to his part. The second point is intelligence. We all have that classmate or friend back in school who has a brain like a sponge, who can absorb information in an instant. Those who can ace subjects even without studying. And yes, they have an unfair advantage of intelligence, or you can say IQ. Let's look at the Collison brothers for example. They co-founded Stripe, a multi-billion-dollar company and were officially billionaires by the time they were even legally to start drinking. And that's just crazy. Patrick, one of the brothers, even created a new programming language at the age of 16. And the other brother got the highest possible grades at the end of high school. Grades that he don't even need because he already got accepted to Harvard even before the exam itself. I know. Crazy, smart, genius. Of course, there are loads and loads of hard work that goes into it, but we cannot ignore the fact that intelligence played a huge part in their lives. The third point is location. I'm pretty sure you have heard it before. I was just at the right place at the right time. Think about Silicon Valley, the land of startups like Google, Facebook, Apple. 3 highest valued tech companies are located in that same area, and we can definitely tell that there is so much power in the location of this. It comes to show how powerful location can be. Even where you are born plays a part. Bill Gates, for example, is born in America and went to a school that has access to computer at a very early stage. Computer at that time was so expensive that only a few locations has it, and somehow Bill Gates has access to it. Having this enabled him to learn programming at a very early stage, giving him a heads up to hit the 10,000 hours of mastering that skill, thus giving him a huge unfair advantage. I mean, just imagine if he was born at the other parts of the world where he doesn't have access to computer at such an early stage. The outcome might be very, very different. This brings to the fourth point, which is expertise or education. If someone asks you which school do you go to and you said you're from Harvard, it will most likely get the person's attention, including girls. With good education or school, you can actually gain a lot of knowledge, network, and signal. A good school will most likely have better teachers, and better teachers means you get better knowledge, better education. Network. A good school usually means that only good students goes to, or maybe a well-off student that goes to it. And therefore, you're mixed around with the people of the same type, and therefore you are well connected. Signaling. Let's face it, if all things equal, would you rather hire someone that is from Harvard or UNSW? Of course, you can argue that getting to the right school requires hard work, which is a fair advantage because you technically work hard to get to the school. But that usually comes from having at least a decent level of education beforehand, such as having a good high school before you can actually go to such an elite school, which means that there is that bit of unfair advantage. Finally, the last point, S, stands for status. Now, status can be like social status, social economical status. But picture this. Imagine you're waiting in a long queue in the nightclub and suddenly you saw a celebrity walk past you right to the bouncer and the entrance of the nightclub. He just nods and walk right in, no question asked. And then you saw another guy coming with another friend who seems to be working in the nightclub and doing the exact same thing. Just nod, walk right in, no question asked. This is the power of status. Who you are and who you know speaks volume. And that can give you a huge unfair advantage into getting early access into things like a nightclub or a networking event. So this is the Miles framework. But I want to touch on the misconceptions of this Miles framework. You are probably thinking that having the highest level in each of these categories means the best. If you have the most money, most intelligence, best location, best education, best status, that means you have 100% score and that is the best. And you might also even think, if I don't rank highly in any of these, does that mean that I don't have the unfair advantage? No, it's not true at all. Everyone has an unfair advantage in a certain way. What might seem like a disadvantage can be an advantage. For example, having little money. You can argue that the more the money you have, the better it is. And therefore, the fewer you have, the worse off you are. But that's actually not very true. Having little money gives you a room to be creative. A startup with huge financial backing will resort to few challenges by buying them. For example, how to market, you buy ads. How to do certain things, hire better people, hire more people. Only when we are constrained, then we will start to be creative. Then we start to learn how to get around from buying. Another example is having high status. You probably think the higher is the better, but it's not true as well. Some that are in the high status and the high money doesn't have the drive, doesn't have the hunger to do more, or don't have the stomach to do something risky because we are afraid that might jeopardize their current status, which I actually discussed in my other video on your success is holding you back. You can check it out right here after this video. But my point is that we all have a unique set of unfair advantage that we can utilize, no matter how high or low in these categories. Here is really how you can leverage it. First, you can double down on your strengths. That is really focusing on your strengths and not your weaknesses. As a millennial, we are still figuring out what career path we want to take. And you would want to go to a path that you're naturally good at. That is the path that is least resistant. The path where you have the unfair advantage. So in a professional setting, you'll want to focus on utilizing your strength. But in a personal setting, you would want to focus and improve on your weaknesses. Second thing on how you can leverage it is having a balanced, realistic growth mindset. I hope you're familiar with the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. And although this might sound as if like I'm promoting the fixed mindset, it is actually about having the balance of both. One spectrum is that we are all equal. We are born equal, and therefore what you can achieve is what I can achieve. And if it's something that I don't have and is a skill set that you have, I know that I can grow that and achieve that as well. While on the other end of the spectrum is, well, I didn't get to the place that I wanted to because I wasn't born with the unfair advantages. I'm not as lucky as them. As you can see, one is an extreme growth mindset, while the latter is an extreme fixed mindset. And we are here trying to find the middle point. That is really to find the balance between the growth and the fixed mindset. So we don't want to fixate on what we don't have, but focus on realities and leverage our unfair advantages that we all uniquely have to live our life to the fullest. Okay, so I realized that I didn't really explain this very clearly. So let me try to explain it one more time. And how I actually want to look at this realistic growth mindset is really looking at what are you realistically good at. And I'm gonna have this example, which is if you look at a monkey climbing up a tree and a fish. You know, if a fish look at a monkey and look, oh wow, he can climb the trees really well, then the fish want to learn that skill as well. But then, of course, a fish is not naturally good at climbing trees. With having a very extreme growth mindset, you might think that, you know what, as I can definitely grow that skill, and so I will try my very best to actually grow that. However, realistically, it's not wise to actually learn how to climb that tree when technically it's not something that you have the unfair advantage of. And so instead, you can want to grow in this things that you are actually advantages of, which is swimming in this case. A fish might be better off learning and improving and growing that swimming skill rather than trying to actually climb up that mountain like the monkey. So I hope this cleared things up. I know it's a strange example, but that's the best I can think of. All right, back to the new video. I also just want to add a personal note to this, which is to appreciate how we got to this place that we are today. These unfair advantages are given to us by chance, not something that is earned or entitled to. I personally have my own share of unfair advantages like good education, being able to live and study abroad, have good family that can support me, and friends that can help cultivate a really good friendship. An advantage that, to be honest, I don't even know how and why I get it from. I sometimes even question myself, what did I do to deserve this? And the truth is, I'm just lucky. So don't judge too quickly on someone else's success and especially failure, because it most likely is that there is some element of luck that they can't control. Alright, that is it for this video. If you gain value out of this, I appreciate it if you give a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you like more of this relatable and empowering content. I will be posting more videos like this on a weekly basis, so do look out for it. Until next time, peace.